What is going on, everybody? Give me 1 second. Happy Friday, everybody. I apologize for that. Had to go take care of something real fast right as I hit go live. So, yes, but we're back. We're hot. We're good to go. So we got a lot to cover today. Hope everybody is having a great Friday. It is awesome. I want to let you guys know we are going to cover some of the Epstein stuff. There's actually been quite a bit of development on that end. We're going to talk about some other ad hoc things here and there. And we've got a couple of videos lined up should we run out of time. But I think we're going to have plenty to cover with the Epstein stuff. So it's been quite busy. I hope all of you guys have been well. We do have a new stream goal going today. We are pushing more. I want you guys to understand what we are doing here is we are trying to build up this channel and trying to do this as something I want to do full time. No, I have not quit my job. This is just something that we're working towards. That's a big goal of the stream right now. And as such, we're going to keep moving forward. Now, from there, let's get into the news. There's quite a bit to cover. So, first and foremost, we have this happening in the Senate Judiciary Committee. To give you a little bit of background, Emil Bove decided that he was going, not decided, Trump nominated him to, I believe it was the 13th Circuit or whatever. I don't remember the circuit name. I don't think it's here nor there. What ended up happening was they nominated him to the circuit court as a lifetime appointment judge. The problem with this is that when we look at this case, or with Emil Bove, there is a huge conflict of interest. One thing about Emil Bove, if anybody's unaware, he represented Donald Trump. He is one of Trump's personal attorneys, which, again, is laughable because the entire premise around what Kristi Noem said was that she did not favor some of these political appointees, right? And I believe we'll get into that here in a minute. And there's a lot of conflicts of interest, and so we'll go over that. But basically, during his nomination hearing, the Republicans silenced the Democrats from debates. So they were not able to debate or anything like that. And thus we had a large portion of the Democrats actually step out of the Senate Judiciary Committee because of the fact that Republicans were bending the rules for giving favors to Emil Bove. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
Why are you doing this? This is outrageous.
This is a kangaroo court. That's all we have here, Mr. Chairman.
This is wrong. To violate your own rules without going by the mandates of the parliamentarian. This is unbelievable. There's a way to do this. If you want to force this through, if you want to ram this through, there's a way to do it in accordance to the rules as spelled out by the parliamentarian. It is simple. It is clear. There's a pathway to achieve what you're trying to achieve.
And so Senator Cory Booker was obviously very upset because of the fact that they were just breaking rules, right? They're trying to do that. Now, keep in mind, Emil Bove also had a lot of issues when it came to the Eric Adams corruption trial. Remember, Emil Bove was one of the people that ended up getting Eric Adams off so that because it was in the best interest, allegedly, for Trump's immigration policy. I believe that was actually mentioned in the court filings. And you'll remember when it came to January 6th, he refused to give a stance on it. So you can see here, Emil Bove declines to rule out third Trump term. I think that's pretty important. These are some cases that he might have to hear. Emil Bove and Jeanine Pirro won't condemn January 6th. So it's very much a political appointee. It's just like, for example, why Donald Trump wants to remove Jerome Powell, who he appointed, by the way, to put in place one of his appointees. I forgot, Scott Bessent or the other guy. There's another guy out there. And so then we had, we'll go back in time. This is exactly what I was talking about. You can see here, Kristi Noem, back when the federal judges and the universal injunctions and things like that were going on, she stated, judges are getting political. Judges are getting political. Notice the date on here, guys. July 13th, which was just last week. All the while, Emile Bove is being nominated to a lifetime appointment. Someone who is one of Trump's personal attorneys is being nominated to a federal position for life. And where's Kristi Noem on this? Where is Kristi Noem to be sitting here saying, hey, this is political? Isn't this not political in and of itself? Emile Bove has a host of issues surrounding him. And that's about it for the Emile Bove stuff. There's not a whole lot going on, but that's something that happened between Wednesday and today was the nomination of Emile Bove. I don't know if it went through. I believe it might have. So the next thing I want to talk about is the economy. Let's go ahead and talk about the economy. So I talked about this a little bit on Wednesday. We talked about the CPI report. We talked about how inflation is going up despite what most people would believe. And it looks like Republicans are kind of burying their heads in the sands, right? They're like, we're not going to talk about this. But they absolutely should. So we can see here Representative Andrew Clyde on what he supports Trump's tariffs. This is the man who wrote The Art of the Deal. This man knows what he's doing, and I trust him. See, but here's the problem. Donald Trump himself has already self-proclaimed that a deal is a piece of a letter, a piece of paper that he put his name on and sent out to these countries. That is what he considers a deal. That's not how a deal works. Dan Fries, welcome back in, buddy. Hypocrisy, thy name is MAGA. You're 110,000%. There is, and we will see, the typical MAGA double standard. Spoiler alert, it has to do with communism. Surprise, surprise. Let's go to the next one here. We have CNN talking with Representative Amoti. Do you support increasing tax on gamblers? And he said, I did not vote for that. I believe this is some kind of a amendment or something that was in one of the bills. And he goes, I did not vote for that. CNN says, sorry, did you vote to pass the bill? Amoti said, I wasn't going to kill the whole bill. They have a failure to understand that you voted for that. You cannot vote on that, you know. You can raise an objection to some of these amendments, but they're spineless, and they don't want to do that. And here is where the Trump administration goes completely off the rails, is with Peter Navarro. Peter Navarro went on Fox News a couple of times, and we'll see one here in just a second, where he tries to redefine what a tariff is. Right here, you can see Maria Bartiromo said, how many more deals on trade would you expect in the coming month? He says, we got a bunch of deals right now, but a lot of them are unilateral because we had to send letters to people. Trust in Trump. See, this is a running theme, right? And it's kind of weird how MAGA will sit there and talk about just trust in Trump. Trust in the process. The man who has lied thousands and thousands of times, according to the Washington Post, I believe is what it was. You want me to believe this man, the liar in chief. You want me to believe him. You want me to trust him. No, not how that works. Trust is earned, not given. But again, the other issue with this is he's saying that we've got a bunch of deals right now, and he is 100% correct, because according to Donald Trump, their version of deals are things put on letters. You can pull it up. It's absolutely there. Colito said the Epstein files will incriminate many, including Trump, if they are revealed. Yes, and that's kind of the issue, and we will get into that here in just a second. Promise you that. We're just going to go over a few brief things here. But yes, this is a big issue going on right now with the Trump campaign, is they are consistently trying to divert attention away, and they're trying to conceal these Epstein files as much as they possibly can. And I agree with you. America wants to see those Epstein files, and I couldn't agree more. They absolutely do. So let's go to the next one here. This is, again, Navarro going back on Fox News and trying to change what reality is. The reason why tariffs do not cause negative impacts like inflation is because these countries depend so heavily on us. When we say you cannot come in unless you pay a tariff, they have to eat the tariff. They will not eat the tariff. I thought this was a different clip. I thought I had it pulled up. That's my bad. There's another one in here where Peter Navarro actually tries to redefine what a tariff is and say tariff is not a tax. It's actually a tax break. I kid you not. He says it in one of these clips. I do not have it pulled up. That's my apologies. But even here, even with this is completely incorrect. And we've seen this, and we will see this in about a couple of minutes when we go to the next slide, is that, guess what? Companies don't eat the tariffs. Countries don't eat the tariffs. They pass it on down to you, the consumer. That's how that works. And we can see that right here. Walmart has increased prices up to 51% in response to Trump's tariffs. And you can see the breakdown right here. 12-piece pots and pans set from Beautiful by Drew Barrymore was $99. It's now $149, a 51% increase. And you may say, well, these are two different models. Fine, I've seen that argument made, although it's not really two different models. You go to the next one, we can look just down here then. Fine, let's look at coffee. Coffee is up by 11% from Walmart. There's two things going on with this right now with Walmart. I do believe there is two issues. One, companies are absolutely passing on the tariffs to the consumers. That's what's happening. Secondly, what is happening is that these companies are trying to skim a little bit more off the top. We saw this happening with C-19 where companies were actually charging more than they ought to have been. Actually, this was for eggs. This wasn't even that far back. You can go and look where just this past few months or earlier this year with the egg shortages, they were charging more even though wholesale egg prices were going down. So what we're seeing here is, again, prices going up due to Donald Trump's tariffs. And somebody mentioned to me, they said, well, what about these milk? Why is milk going up? Tell me why that makes sense. Well, it's quite simple. Milk is going up because guess what? The supply chain. Again, MAGA does not think about the supply chain. They don't think about that. The reality is that there's feed that comes in from other countries, and that feed is more expensive for those dairy cows. Meaning, guess what? Farmers have to pass that cost on to the consumer. Enden said, I wish Democrats talked about price increases during Biden, then we wouldn't have had Trump. We talked about price increases, although, again, we understood what that meant. The problem is that Democrats understand why prices were going up. We understood why. And Joe Biden was trying to take an active, aggressive approach to bringing those prices down, in which he did. Now, let's be very clear. When I say prices, I meant the CPI numbers. The CPI numbers did come down. You can see that. It went from 9% down to all the way to 3%. Now, inflation is cumulative. So, of course, you don't want deflation. Deflationary is bad. It's not good. Walmart raised prices to cover the cost of the No Kings protest they funded. That's not what happened. You have no proof of that, George Elliott. Maria Lena said cost was high during Biden. Yes, the costs were high under Biden, but they were high under Biden due to Donald Trump's terrible first-term economic policies. If you will remember, Donald Trump pumped in massive amounts of money into the economy in January, creating a red-hot economy. So Biden had to do whatever he could do to tamper down on inflation. One of those was the Inflation Reduction Act. We had the Infrastructure Act. We had all those different things that invested in different kinds of sectors to try to bring that down as much as possible, and that is what we saw. We saw an economic recovery greater than anywhere else in the world. Biden pumped in more after Trump, though, right? No. Well, so yes and no. So Biden pumped in more in the sense of he passed the American Rescue Plan that then passed another stimulus check out to the American people. Correct in that. But again, this is and I've been critical of that part. But the thing is that Donald Trump passed two stimulus bills, including two stimulus checks. And keep in mind, he raised unemployment costs. A lot of people forget about this. During 2020, he raised the unemployment cost or unemployment income for most of the country. They subsidized it, right? And so what you saw was a lot more people who were making essentially what they were making had they been employed on unemployment. Then you also had the increase in child tax credits that carry through for the next couple of years due to those stimulus packages because of Donald Trump. People don't understand this. When you look at a president, you can't just look at, well, number goes up under X president, thus X president is responsible. See, previous presidents passed bills that carry on to next administrations, and that's exactly what happened. Was the American Rescue Plan needed? I don't know if it was totally needed. I haven't looked at the American Rescue Plan in a while, but from everything I can tell, I don't know if it was totally needed. At least the stimulus check part, I can say that for sure. I don't believe that stimulus check was needed. I don't know about the entirety of the American Rescue Plan. I think there were some good things in there, but I'd have to look at it again to refresh my memory. You could say it was after C-19, but again, I don't know if you could conclude that. I think it was still raging on at that time as well. But I don't want to turn this entire stream into that. Let's get back to this. So the next thing here is Donald Trump then gets wind. He gets wind that, hey, guess what? Walmart's increasing their prices. And Donald Trump says that Walmart should stop, in all caps, trying to blame tariffs as the reason for raising prices throughout the chain. Walmart made billions of dollars, in all caps, last year. Far more than expected. Between Walmart and China, they should, as is said that Donald Trump said, eat the tariffs and not charge valued customers anything. I'll be watching, and so will your customers. It sounds like a veiled threat that he is going to potentially take action against Walmart. A little bit like kind of what I think Donald Trump said in August of 2024, where he said, if you think things are expensive now, they'll get 100 times worse if Kamala gets 4 years as president. Under her plan, Kamala will implement Soviet-style price controls. I'm going to go back. Let's go back to read what Donald Trump said here. He said between Walmart and China, they should, as is said, eat the tariffs and not charge valued customers anything. I'll be watching. Almost like Donald Trump is trying to implement potential Soviet price controls. Typical MAGA hypocrisy at its finest, right? And again, Donald Trump's solution to this, as he is confronted with the fact that CPI is going up, as he is confronted with the fact that we have all of these other things going on, he decides it's best that he's going to impose a 15 to 20% tariff, minimum tariff, on all EU goods. You can't make this stuff up, folks. Donald Trump believes that there's 0% inflation. Now, I understand why he is of the impression, and this is the problem, is because inflation rose 0.4%, right? And so when he was told was that the media spin that it's going to be doing is going to be 0% because it rounds down to 0%, so they're rounding it down, saying it's 0%, just like, by the way, and we'll see this later, at a press conference, he says there's been 0 people that have crossed the border. That's not how that works. What he meant was 0 people released from ICE custody. Granted, border crossings are down, but it's not 0. Trump, the commie Democrats were quite quiet at 9%, saying everything was fine. Yes, generally it would be fine because, again, we were going through an inflationary period. And, again, it was due to Donald Trump's policies and some of Joe Biden's that ended up leading us to here. We can point this up, and it's pretty easy. So, and we can see here, Randy Fine saying, well, I trust President Trump's judgment completely on this. I think he's been the most transparent president we have ever had. Ever had. He has proven to be transparent on everything. If there's anything to show, then I'm sure that they will. This is him saying this literally yesterday as Donald Trump is doing everything he can to bury the Epstein case, Epstein files. He's doing everything he can. Dan Fry said Biden brought inflation from 90% to 2.4%. You are exactly correct, Dan Fries. He did. He brought inflation down quite a bit. Quite a bit. And keep in mind, they're so desperate, and we'll see this in the press conference that we watch later, that they mentioned that Donald Trump is suffering from chronic venous insufficiency. Long story short, it basically means that not all of the blood is going to his heart. It's staying and pooling in his legs. The problem is that this all stemmed from a photograph of Donald Trump's ankles being completely swollen. And they've done a little bit of kind of, digging. And look at this. Stage 3, edema swelling. Stage 3. This isn't something that just had happened randomly. And in fact, they found that Donald Trump had actually recently, back in April, did a physical exam. And they mentioned nothing about this. And they also covered the fact of his bruising on his hand that was caused by, I believe they said, aspirin. But nobody mentioned any of that regimen, nothing. Why are they conveniently mentioning it now? Because they're trying to bury this Epstein story. And so now we're going to move into the Epstein stuff. This is what everyone's here for. You're like, hey, I want to hear more about this Epstein stuff. Let's get into it. So I told all of you guys on Wednesday that at that time, Donald Trump was simply saying there's nothing to see here. I'm not going to release it, so on and so forth. Well, the Wall Street Journal came out with a story about a birthday card that Donald Trump sent to Epstein on a typewritten letter, and it had the outline of a female figure, and you can imagine what that outline was. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. Well, because of this article, The Wall Street Journal was now being threatened to be sued. Let's go ahead and read this letter from Trump. The Wall Street Journal and Rupert Murdoch personally were warned directly by President Donald J. Trump that the supposed letter they printed by President Trump to Epstein was a fake, and if they print it, they will be sued. So let's break this down for a second. Donald Trump is saying that he personally warned Rupert Murdoch. Now, this conflicts with a lot of things, because one of the things they were saying is that they had not told Trump that this was going to be released. But here, Donald Trump is saying that they personally warned Rupert Murdoch that if they publish a story, they're going to be sued. So clearly they told them about this letter, or the story at least. Mr. Murdoch stated that he would take care of it, but obviously did not have the power to do so. It's funny to me that Donald Trump is talking to media groups. Again, this is really interesting to me, by the way, because I remember when Republicans were upset about Joe Biden's administration allegedly trying to cover up the Hunter Biden story. But here is Donald Trump trying to cover up this story, the Epstein story. Same situation. But this time it's okay because it's Donald Trump. And so here we go. The editor of the Wall Street Journal, Emma Tucker, was told directly by Caroline Leavitt and by President Trump that the letter was a fake. So again, here it is. They're admitting that they saw and were well aware of this letter. Okay? So anybody that goes out there and says what they weren't aware of it, they absolutely were, according to this, according to Trump's own Truth Social. Instead, they're going with a false, malicious, and defamatory story anyways. President Trump will be suing the Wall Street Journal, News Corp, and Mr. Murdoch shortly. The press has to learn to be truthful and not rely on sources that probably don't even exist. Probably don't even exist. Key word there. Probably don't even exist. It sounds like they do. President Trump has already beaten George Stephanopoulos, ABC, 60 Minutes, CBS, and others, and looks forward to suing and holding accountable the once great Wall Street Journal. It has truly turned out to be a disgusting and filthy rag, and writing defamatory lies like this shows their desperation to remain relevant. If there were any truth at all in the Epstein hoax as it pertains to President Trump, this information would have been revealed by Comey, Brennan, Crooked Hillary, and other radical left lunatics years ago. It certainly would not have sat in a file waiting for Trump, quote unquote, I don't know why he did that, to have won 3 elections. Notice how he said there, won 3 elections. This is yet another example of fake news. It's ironic to me that he mentions fake news as he just mentions fake news. He's mentioning it in there. It's like right there. And yes, you're correct, Corey. Pam Bondi said it's on my desk. Donald Trump and his entire administration ran on releasing the Epstein files, and here it is now. He's trying to say it's fake news. It's not fake news. And so again, when we go back to this and we listen to this, and he's saying that, you know, he's going to sue all these different, he's learned because ABC and CBS and all these other organizations have capitulated to Donald Trump. They have just given up and stopped fighting because they want to try to save their money and save their arses, okay? He now knows he can cry like a baby and sue and hope he gets his way. That's what's happening right now. And so anyways, here we go. Trump then also truthed out later on. I look forward to getting Rupert Murdoch to testify in my lawsuit against him and his pile of garbage newspaper, the Wall Street Journal. That'll be an interesting experience. I think Donald Trump doesn't realize that part of a lawsuit is discovery. Discovery means that they're going to unveil all of the evidence. Do you think that the Wall Street Journal would have published something that they know is a litigious president? They know Donald Trump will sue. Do you think they're going to put something out there that is false? Discovery is a hell of a thing. And guess what? When Discovery comes out, they're going to show and say, hey, guess what? Here you go. Remember Signalgate? Remember Signal? When they said, hey, yeah, this didn't exist. We don't know what you're talking about. And then they presented the receipts and more. I guarantee you this thing probably exists. And what's even more crazy is Fox News trying to cover up for Donald Trump. It's already clear as day that Donald Trump is trying to influence the media to favor him. Watch this. This is a very strange moment. So halfway through Laura Ingram's show at 7 p.m., she said, we have new news coming on about this as well from the Wall Street Journal. A new report tonight next, referring to the Wall Street Journal. Conveniently, it never came on. She said, I'm going to bring it up here, and it never came up on Fox News. Newsmax, same thing, ignored the Wall Street Journal too. Its approach is best summed up by the opening line of 9 p.m. fill-in host Lydia Carana's monologue, "Are you as sick of this Epstein story as I am?" These news organizations that are supposedly supposed to be unbiased, right, are now going in and now censoring this. And next, we have this. Mike Johnson saying the president and I talked about this ridiculous allegation this morning. He said it's patently absurd. He's never drawn such a picture. He's never drawn such a picture. He's never thought of drawing such a picture. And he said, did you see the language of this bogus supposed communication? He said, I don't talk like that. I don't talk like that. They're literally making things up. Okay, so remember, guys, Donald Trump doesn't draw anything. Doesn't draw anything. Before we go on and I reveal the big reveal, make sure you're hitting that like, subscribe, notification bell, guys. We have 154 of you guys in here. Please, if you could do me a huge favor, hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. Juan Perez said, cops are clowns in uniforms and cowards. Republicans fucked America for their orange clown. Taco Trump. Yeah, pretty much. The leader of the free world is, Jesus. Epstein had 14 contact numbers for Trump. That's crazy. Who has 14 Well, exactly, Dan Fries. And keep in mind, too, that Donald Trump also was on the flight logs. We've already seen that his signature is on the flight logs. We've already seen that Donald Trump has been best friends with Epstein. He's seen all over the place. It's ridiculous to suggest he has no connection to Epstein. Now, again, I want to mention this and make this very clear. We don't know to what extent Donald Trump is implicated in what Epstein was doing there, right? But I think it's at this point very apparent what's going on. His name is in those files is what it surely seems like, and he's trying to cover it up. But him covering up makes him look even worse. Even worse. All right, so remember, Donald Trump does not draw. That's what they claim. Well, guys, I present to you... forgot about this. Donald Trump Jr. My father has a very specific way of speaking. People all over the world have mimicked it for decades. The insanity written in the Wall Street Journal ain't it, and everyone knows it. Also, in 47 years, I've never seen him doodle once. Never doodled. Well, guess what? Here you go. In his 2008 book, Never Give Up, he wrote, each year I donate an autographed doodle. Now, you might be saying, that's not him. All right, let's go to the next one. I never wrote a picture in my life. He auctioned this one off in 2004. Quote unquote, lot 109, Donald Trump drawing of the Empire State Building. But we got more. Look at this. Look at all of these drawings that Donald Trump, look at this. This piece of art was created by Donald Trump. Look at all of his signatures over all of these doodles. Now, remember, Donald Trump doesn't speak like this. He never says the word enigma, for example. You can see here, this person on Twitter said, I asked Grok to search every record of Trump speaking or writing to determine if he has ever used the word enigma before, and Grok says there's no record of him ever saying it. Well, guys, let's listen to this speech. Why don't we?
Now, Carson's an enigma to me. I didn't say it. Carson's an enigma.
I think that speaks for itself, don't you think? So, he's never said it before. He's never drawn before. Well, it looks like he's drawn, and it looks like he's used the word enigma. And people are probably wondering, why is enigma so important? Because in the actual letter, he says something to the effect of, we are enigmas. So, this is why it's important. So then we go on to the next one here. Charlie Kirk saying, major move, let's go. Donald Trump is finally going to sue. They're so excited. MAGA's so excited, guys. They're like, yes, we're finally going to get this. Right here, you see, based on the ridiculous amount of publicity given to Jeffrey Epstein, I have asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to produce any and all. So finally, he gets a little bit antsy. He's like, oh my gosh, they're coming after me. I need to release something. So he says, I'm going to go ahead and release the grand jury testimony. But keep in mind, look what he says. I've asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony, subject to court approval, this scam perpetrated by the Democrats, again, not perpetrated by the Democrats, should end right now. And Charlie Kirk is excited. Major move. Let's go. You can see Donald Trump Jr. Let's go. I believe we've got another one here from, we don't have one. I thought we had one from Benny Johnson. I didn't. They're all excited. Like, yes, we're going to get the grand jury. And we can see here, Donald Trump did in fact sue. And Donald Trump was so excited that they sued. They did in fact sue Rupert Murdoch and the news and all that. But this little piece right here is very narcissistic. We'll move on from it. Here's where it is. So after they sued Rupert Murdoch and all that, which he did do, but again, I want to go back to this real quick. I breezed over this. One of the things it says in here, look at this, guys. Represented by Donald J. Trump, pro se. For anyone who is unaware what pro se means that he's representing himself. Donald Trump is representing himself. It's insane. It gets crazy, guys. All right. But anyways, so we go to the next file here. Attorney General Pam Bondi said, I'm going to go ahead and release the grand jury testimony. So she submitted this motion to, she submitted, I think this one, I think it was this one or the lawsuit. It might have been both. To release the Epstein files under, what was her name? Court. One of the ones that was the Trump appointees, Eileen Cannon's. This was filed under Eileen Cannon's district. A Trump appointee, very, very pro-Trump federal judge. I digress. So they've asked and filed this motion to release all grand jury transcripts. But there's one problem. The Justice Department's bid to release Epstein's grand jury info comes with a huge caveat that it will seek to redact not just victim info, but other personal identifying information. So let that sink in. It will seek to redact not just victim info, but other personal identifying information. Meaning, you're not going to see any names. That's just how it's going to go. Hell yeah, he's all over those files. Either that or admit that they were wrong the whole time. So yeah, they'll fall in line. Gums and teeth, Charlie Kirk fell in line. Yeah, well, that's the thing too, Dan. And this is what I've been saying. When people say that this is going to be the end of MAGA, it's not going to be the end of MAGA. MAGA is either, at worst, MAGA is going to just find a new leader to kind of follow and surround. MAGA is a cult of ideology, a cult of personality. It's not a cult of a particular individual, right? So it's going to move on, and they'll try to find a way to excuse this. Thanks, Southern Horseman. I appreciate it, guys. Listen, if you are watching this, Southern Horseman has a good point. Please make sure you hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. And if you are enjoying this content and you do feel like you want to support me further, I would be very appreciative of that. We are looking to try to make this a full-time thing. But again, I understand I got to earn y'all's trust. All right, so let's go on to the next one. Here's the thing. The Epstein grand jury transcripts could just be one agent's summary testimony. And the existence of many living witnesses and victims, as well as Ghislaine Maxwell's pending appeal, could cause courts to deny their public release. Remember, grand jury testimony is incredibly rare if it ever gets released. It's very secretive, right? So the fact that they're sitting there now saying that, well, so get it. They went from, we're going to release the grand jury testimony. Yes, we're going to get it all. And then they went and a little bit dig down into it and you go, oh, it's going to be redacted, but we're still going to get something, right? There's not going to be a bunch of black markers all over it. It turns out we may not even get it at all. I called it. I think I said this on Wednesday's show. I'm not sure if I did. Or I may have said it on Twitter. This is all a smokescrreen. He's trying to feed his base breadcrumbs. And his base is eating it up. His base is like, yes, Daddy Trump, we want those moldy, rotten breadcrumbs. And they're excited about it. But if it's not, if that wasn't bad enough, let's just take a listen to this here. And this is where I'll end the Epstein story. Okay, let's take a listen to this, guys. Just take a listen.
If they were run by Chris Wray and they were run by Comey, and because it was actually even before that administration,
Right.
they've been running these files. And so much of the things that we found were fake with me. And so much of the things that we found were fake with me. And so much of the things that we found were fake with me. If they were.
Interesting. Almost like he made a Freudian slip, right? Almost like he made that Freudian slip. And this is where we'll kind of conclude this and start watching some videos, and I'll be taking viewer chats. This is a long page here, okay? This was released from the Senate Judiciary Committee. Let's be very clear. I believe it was the Senate Judiciary Committee, right? Yeah, Senate Judiciary Committee. And it's a long thing. You can take it. You can read it. You can do whatever you want with it, okay? But I will say this is released. I would tell anybody this. Go in and do your own research. If you don't agree with it, you don't like it, go find another source, okay? So take it for what it's worth. But part of their investigation found that right here, this is a very important part. My office was told that these personnel were instructed to flag any records in which President Trump was mentioned. Notably, in 2002, Mr. Trump said of Mr. Epstein, "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It's even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. Just yesterday, it was reported the department previously reviewed a leather-bound album comprised of dozens of letters from Mr. Epstein's friends in celebration of his 50th birthday in 2003. The letters were collected by Mr. Epstein's partner, Ghislaine Maxwell, and included one from President Trump that allegedly contained several lines of typewritten text. Basically, this was the realization. This was revealed that it looks like personnel from, I believe, the FBI were instructed to flag anything mentioning Trump. Look, guys, this is what I'm going to say about this. Is Donald Trump guilty of anything? We don't know, right? We don't know. There's a lot of suggestive and a lot of correlative evidence to potentially suggest so, but we don't know. What I will say is this. I think based on all the fact that they're trying to hide things, the fact that Donald Trump is on these flight logs, it would not surprise me in the slightest. It would actually surprise me more if Donald Trump's name was not on that list, or at least on the files, right? I don't know if there's a client list. There's suggestions that there may or may not be. That's neither from here nor there for me to determine. But what I will say is the fact that they are so trying to hide this thing. There is a reason that they're trying to hide it. So take that into consideration. I don't think this is the end. And in fact, I think what we're going to see is Donald Trump submit this motion to the judge to release all the grand jury testimony. They're going to turn it down. He's going to say, at least I tried. At least I tried. And then he's going to try to do the suing of Rupert Murdoch. And he's hoping that they're going to settle out of court because he doesn't want to actually take it to trial. But I'm hoping at least that it does go to discovery. And when it goes to discovery and then all of a sudden Rupert Murdoch holds it up and goes, hey, I got it right here. It's going to be pretty embarrassing. Then they're going to try to seal it because they don't want anybody to see that. So it's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds. Let's get to the chat here. Democrats are being set up by Trump. I don't know how and what way you're saying that, Josh. Said, oh, well, Democrats are being set up. Yeah, I mean, we were seeing they've already talked about, and this was kind of a story that they tried to release to try to throw a smokescreen at everything. Tulsi Gabbard ended up, let me do something real quick here. Hold on. We're going to see one cam. Okay. So what they were trying to do is bring Tulsi Gabbard in and say, look, it was determined that Russiagate was a cover-up by Obama. I don't know the details of it. And they're now trying to say that they want to bring Obama in to be questioned. Good luck. Good luck. It's not going to happen. For numerous amounts of reasons, a lot of presidential conversations are privileged. And so good luck trying to pierce through that veil. Not going to happen. Spartacus says, sounds like a cover-up to me. 100%. 110%. Just like there's a reason for Dems to hide it. Reason the Dems hid it. Again, I can pull up an article right now that shows there was thousands of files released under Joe Biden. Okay, I can pull it up right now. In fact, if you want me to, I can. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Let's pull it up. Because, again, people seem to think, and this is something that goes unnoticed quite a bit. Let's pull this up here. I'll have to dig for it. I know I've got it. Won't take me long. I don't post a ton. All right, here we go. Last batch of unsealed Jeffrey Epstein documents released, and this was from January 9th of 2024. Thousands and hundreds were released. This was shortly after, I believe, a lawsuit. Hundreds of pages of documents were in public over the past week related to the wealthy financier and a trafficking scheme he allegedly perpetrated before his death. That's how we also saw a lot of the documents come out. But it wasn't big news. Why wasn't it big news? Because, again, one, I keep saying this, Democrats didn't run on releasing the Epstein files. The reason we're so, going after this right now is because Donald Trump said he was going to release them, and he hasn't released them. That's part one. Part two is the fact that he's covering up for it makes it so much worse. Republicans didn't put a vote forward. They didn't put a vote. Why didn't Republicans put a vote forward? They didn't. And there's a reason why. Nothing that comes out of Biden's DOJ is true. Based on what evidence? So let's go back here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to watch the press conference that took place yesterday, and then we're going to get to the Genius Act signing. This is a little bit of a lengthy one, so I don't know if we're going to get through all of it today or if we're even going to get to the Genius Act signing. So what I'll do is I'll mention this. Donald Trump signed the Genius Act and said that it was named after him because he's a genius. Kid you not. True story. Nancy Pelosi said to leave Epstein alone. Trump 2028 never wrote Democrat. I don't know why they got that, but okay. Nancy Pelosi said to leave Epstein alone. Yeah, well, again, this is the problem I have, is a lot of people are looking at the Democrats and saying, well, why do they have such low approval rating? The reason they have such low approval rating is because of the fact that even Democrats are disappointed in the leadership of their party. It's not because they have a disappointment with the Democrats, right? Or the Democratic Party. The issue you have is that you have people like Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi who are lifelong Democrats who consistently go against their party's wishes. Nancy Pelosi is toxic to the Democratic Party. That's why she's doing that. All right, I digress. Let's watch this.
I apologize for our tardiness. I was with the president. Let me begin with a few scheduling announcements today.
And to be clear, this press conference took place yesterday. And this was shortly after Donald Trump. I don't think the Wall Street Journal article had come out yet. It came out. The Wall Street Journal article came out later in the day. This was earlier on in the day, so they had not really fully announced what they were going to do. What was Pelosi's husband up to? That's pretty messed up. All right.
Okay. President Trump will travel to Scotland, where he will visit both Turnberry and Aberdeen from July 25th to July 29th. During the visit, President Trump will meet again with Prime Minister Starmer to refine the great trade deal that was brokered between the United States and...
See, and keep in mind, too, when they do this, she's saying the fine trade deal that was brokered between the United States and the United Kingdom to refine the trade deal. It almost sounds like the trade deal has not actually been confirmed.
the United Kingdom. And the President and the First Lady will travel to the United Kingdom for an official state visit from...
Was he Sharpie used to write that letter? Probably, Mr. Robot. Probably. The Sharpie was probably written to... Actually, I mean, it was a doodle of a woman on that Wall Street Journal letter. Just saying. So, what's going on, Politically Incorrect Coffee? How are you doing, buddy? Real quick, guys, I'm going to take a quick second. Please make sure we got 187 of you guys, now 184. Please make sure you hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. I can't ask you enough. That way we can get further up in the algorithm.
September 17th to September 19th later this fall. This will mark a truly unprecedented second state visit for President Trump, and he is honored and looking forward to meeting with His Majesty the King at Windsor Castle. There has been a wave of positive economic news over the past week, which I would like to highlight today. Joe Biden's inflation crisis has been defeated.
I find this hilarious. I don't understand why they think this is some kind of a win, right? Look at this. There was no inflation at all in June, but look at it. It's from Breitbart. From Breitbart, of all places, Breitbart. That's hysterical to me. And to be clear, there was inflation in June. They are literally trying to recreate a whole new story. They're literally
Prices paid
patently
to
lying.
American businesses.
And remember, Caroline Levin, when she first got up there, said this is going to be the most transparent, most honest administration. This has been anything but that case.
For goods and services were flat in June, which is lower than all.
Hey, politically incorrect. You're 100% correct. We still have a great deal of inflation, and it's only going to get worse. You were 110% correct. One of the main reasons I talked about on Wednesday is that we're going to see pre-tariff inventory levels start to get depleted, and now they're going to have to pay tariffs for their new inventory levels. And keep in mind, inflation is typically a lagging indicator. It takes a little bit of time to catch up. But we are already seeing prices. We mentioned it earlier. For example, Walmart increasing their prices upwards of 51%. And it's not even just Walmart. We've seen this across the board.
All 50 forecasters in the Bloomberg survey predicted. And core inflation, which is the best measure of inflation, came in lower than expected again in the month of June. Since President Trump took office, core inflation has tracked at just 2.1% overall and has come in below or at economists'
Wait. I didn't even catch it the first time.
Came in lower than expected, a survey predicted. And core inflation, which is the best measure of inflation, came in lower than expected again in the month of June. Since President Trump took office,
there was no inflation at all in June.
and all 50 forecasters in the Bloomberg survey predicted. And core inflation, which is the best measure of inflation, came in lower than expected again in the month of June. Since President Trump took office, core inflation has tracked at just 2.1% overall and has come in.
So there was inflation. She countered. Does she not proofread this stuff? So core inflation went up 2.1%. Literally seconds ago, you said there was no inflation.
Below or at economists' expectations every single month. Wages are growing at a strong pace and prices are falling for everyday Americans. We also saw prices for new and used vehicles and airfares drop last month. In addition, prices for gas.
Keep in mind that lowering airfare costs and hotel costs has been a sign of recessions. Why? Because that means less people are traveling. So they're trying to save their money. Vince, you're a Trump hater and an idiot. Man, what an insightful comment from you, Josh DeSantis.
Fuel oil, energy commodities, hotels, airfare, public transportation, and fresh vegetables are all down over last year. As we said all along, trust in President Trump.
Remember I told y'all earlier, this is the running theme. They're trying to say trust in Trump, but she just lied from the podium. They try to make him out as if he's some kind of trustworthy president and transparent, but he's everything but. Like, basically, anytime they say something, it's always the opposite. Gas is still high, groceries are still high, taxes are high, and our salaries are stagnant. You're 100% correct. In fact, the jobs report that came out, guys, by the way, last month showed that manufacturing jobs have stagnated. They've stagnated. Manufacturing jobs, service jobs, all of those have stagnated. The ones where we saw the greatest growth was healthcare, which, again, Republicans have just gotten rid of Medicaid and Medicare and SNAP, which will close up rural hospitals potentially. So you're going to see healthcare jobs start to go down real soon.
American dream is back, and everyday families are already reaping the benefits of this incredible economic turnaround in just 6 months. President Trump has ended the era of economic surrender and implemented powerful.
Trump's tariff revenues are hitting record highs, generating $100 billion so far this year. Again, they're trying desperately to redo the narrative here, right? That $100 billion so far in tariff revenue is going to be passed back down to the consumer. That means consumers are probably going to pay not just $100 billion on those products, right? They're going to be paying more than that. Why? Because companies are going to want to make a little bit more on that profit. That's a tax on the American consumer. They just taxed the American taxpayer $100 billion. That is what they just did. And yes, there was a surplus in June, but guess what? It doesn't change the fact right here. There's a surplus because of the revenue. The revenue is $100 billion, but this is not a revenue that you want to see. It'd be different There's just no way around it. The way the governments make money is by taxing the taxpayer. That's the way they make their monies. You can get it through licensing and fees, but that's still a kind of tax. This is a tax on the American taxpayer.
Tariffs to stand up for our workers and businesses and rebalance America's trading agreements. Despite all of the doom casting from the so-called experts claiming that these tariffs would be the end of the world as we know it, the opposite has occurred. Tariffs are not inflationary, as President Trump has said all along. In reality, tariffs are a source of massive revenue. We're seeing...
No one has ever debated the fact that tariffs are a source of revenue. Of course they are. Why? Because they're a tax. Someone has to pay it. Tariffs haven't raised prices. Stop crying. They have absolutely raised prices. I've already talked about Walmart raising it 51%, and core CPI has gone up by about 0.4% last month, and it's going to continue to go up as we're starting to see some of the tariffs take effect.
Trillions of dollars in private investment pour into our country right now because the companies around this world want to make their products right here with American labor and not have to pay any tariffs at all. Customs and tariff revenue has already totaled more than $113 billion since President Trump entered office, helping to lead a budget surplus in June for the first time in nearly a decade. We are
Thank you, Samuel. And it's not cheap. Thank you, guys. Sorry. Let me pull it up here. I know. I'm good. So consumer price index. Where is it here? Let me pull it up. Do. Oh, yes, you can. You can hear me now. Hold on. All right. So y'all love whenever someone goes muted, huh? Anytime someone goes muted, you're like, hey. I appreciate it, though, guys. I appreciate it. Here it is. Where is it here? Energy, all items, new vehicles. Yes. So new vehicles and used cars are down, but they've been going down for a while. In fact, they were going down. Looking here. Hold on one second. It's hard to pull up. Okay. It doesn't have the one from there, but it's been going down for a little bit. But all the other ones here, let me share my screen so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Oh, shoot. Hold on. All right. So you can see here, this is from June. Where is it? Used cars, new and used cars right here. They've been going down for some time. So it went down from June 2024. It was 178. It was up in May by like 72 cents or whatever it was, or 72 points, 0.72 points. And now it's up here. But this is getting a nuance. So it's used cars and new cars are down. But if you look at things like this, for example, food at home and all that other stuff, it's up 0.3 year over year. And so there is inflation. You can see here, let's see. Shelter, this one's up too. Rent or primary residence is up 0.2 year over year. So again, there's been inflation. So anybody saying otherwise, saying there's not inflation, is just patently lying. So to the Megan chat, why do you want your kids to work low-paying factory jobs? Because that's the only way production is coming back to America. Yeah, pretty much. You're pretty much right on the money there. All right.
Truly entering a golden age as a result of these pro-growth and America First trade policies. On another matter, yesterday in the East Room, the president was proud to sign the Halt All Lethal Trafficking of Fentanyl Act into law.
You can say it's negligible, Dead Indian, but again, I already told you. We're seeing the effects starting. It's going to get much worse coming into Q4.
Surrounded by angel families to help finally end the devastating fentanyl crisis that has ravaged millions of Americans. Under the Halt Fentanyl Act, anyone who possesses, imports, distributes, or manufactures any illicit fentanyl-related substances will be subject to criminal prosecution in the same manner as any other Schedule I controlled substance. This legislation will close the loopholes.
Democrats are not smart. They're pretty smart.
And make it easier for law enforcement to prosecute vicious
Much smarter,
traffickers
actually.
who peddle poison
Statistically
in
speaking,
our
Democrats are more
communities.
likely to be educated,
President Trump
too.
has always made tackling the drug crisis a top priority, and this important bipartisan legislation further follows through on that commitment. The complete and total success at our southern border that many in the media in this room can.
And this other thing, too, Donald Trump keeps saying that they're, like, shutting down the border and that there's been 0 border crossings. This is patently untrue. What has actually happened is that ICE has not actually, or Border Patrol has not released anybody back into the country. That is what they mean by 0. In other words, they've been picking them up and then they've been detaining them and holding them there.
Continue to ignore is another example of the president keeping his word to families who have lost loved ones due to fentanyl, and it's another win for the American people.
We're starting to feel the effects of it right now, Phoenix. Is just patently true. I literally just showed you where inflation is going up. And they're going up right now because of the tariff policy. And again, it's a lagging indicator. It takes time for inflation to catch up.
Customs and Border Protection just released the final operationalized stats for the month of June, and I must highlight some of these incredible numbers. There were only 6,072 Southwest apprehensions in June, 15% lower than the previous record that this president set in the month.
So again, this is what I was telling you guys about, right? They're trying to deceive you by saying 0 releases. That's exactly it. Releases. There's still people crossing the border. They're playing with numbers like crazy here.
Of March.
Fast and loose.
To put that in perspective, the Biden administration routinely saw the same number of encounters in a single day. And on many days, that number was more than 10,000 apprehensions at the southwest border. There were also 0 illegal aliens released along the southwest border for the second consecutive month in a row. President Trump promised to end the illegal alien invasion, and he has delivered on that promise.
No, he hasn't. There were still thousands of people that crossed across the border. Okay. Now, granted, it is down from Biden. That is absolutely true. It's down from Biden, but guess what? There are still crossings. Yeah, the 0 number is patently like when you see, guys, this is the problem is like a lot of MAGA doesn't have this critical thinking skills. When you see a politician say 0, you should have alarm bells going off in your head. You should be saying, whoa, 0? Like none? Like nobody crossed the border. That's what I thought. I was like, wait a minute. And I looked at it and guess what? I realized 0 releases. Doesn't mean there was nobody crossing the border. There's still people, thousands of people crossing the border right now.
The American people in record time. With the border sealed, deportations are ramping up. This past weekend, our brave ICE agents were arresting violent criminal illegal aliens all across the country.
Again, violent illegal aliens where most of these people are going to their immigration hearing. They're going to their immigration hearing and then they're being picked up when they're scheduling their stuff. People right now are being racially profiled. I'm glad I don't have a darker skin tone right now. Because if I did, I'd be terrified of going out of the house just to go to get groceries. For fear of being picked up. For fear of mistaken identity.
Atlanta arrested an illegal alien from Mexico, convicted of attempted rape of a child in North Carolina. ICE Baltimore arrested.
And I want to be clear, this is the problem that they're doing. I hate this so much. What she's trying to do, this is what they do, okay? And if nobody sees through the veil, what they're trying to do is trying to paint a broad brush and say, and keep in mind, I want you to watch this. I want you to watch who they're pointing out. Notice, they're not going to point to anybody of Asian descent. They're not going to point to anybody that's European descent. They're going to point to everybody that looks Hispanic. And what they're trying to do is trying to ingrain in your head, okay, that anytime you see a person of this skin tone, that they are guilty of this. Now, I want to be very, very clear. These individuals that she's naming should not be in this country, and I completely agree they should not be here. But what they're trying to do is get you subliminally to sit there and see, I see this person, thus they're guilty of this particular crime without any kind. It's an implicit bias.
An illegal alien from Guatemala who was previously convicted for sexual abuse of a minor in Maryland. ICE Houston arrested a criminal illegal alien from Mexico whose previous conviction includes aggravated sexual assault of a child in Texas. ICE Salt Lake City arrested a 32-year-old illegal criminal alien from Mexico who was previously convicted for child abuse and injury. ICE Baltimore arrested a criminal illegal alien from El Salvador convicted in Maryland for possession of child pornography. And ICE San Antonio arrested a criminal illegal alien from Mexico
So there you go. I mean, it just goes on and on.
And out of our country, and the president continues to strongly have the backs of all ICE agents who are doing their jobs to keep all of us, including everyone in this room, safe. The facility, sorry, 1 second. In other news, following President Trump's bold executive actions protecting American children from irreversible.
I'm gonna skip over a lot of this stuff. I
For many years, the House should pass this rescissions package immediately and send it to the president's desk for signature. On another note, I know that many in the media have been speculating about bruising on the president's hand and also swelling.
And here you go. This is when they're trying to like shift the attention away from Donald Trump and his Epstein stuff. Hazelnut peanut butter was $9.97 before this. Now the same jar is $11.97. That's crazy. Yeah, Marilyn, welcome in, by the way. Yeah, the crazy thing about it is inflation is crazy right now. Okay, one of the other things too is we're seeing beef prices rise. And I had to look into it, and there's a little bit of a whole bunch of things going on with beef prices. One of the things is that we're seeing increased demand, for example, for beef. Here in the United States, there's also something going on in Mexico right now with their cattle, and that's causing a shortage there. And yes, believe it or not, we do still import some of our beef, and we actually export a lot of our beef because guess what? A lot of Americans don't really like a lot of the organs of cattle, and so we export those kinds of things there. But yeah, we're kind of going through a shortage right now, and Donald Trump's tariffs have absolutely played a part in that as well, via feed and things like that as well. So, not to mention all of the labor. This is something else people don't think about. There's another input cost when it comes to this. Their labor is being stripped away, which means now they're not able to really do that. They're probably having to hire people who cost more.
In the president's legs. So in the effort of transparency, the president wanted me to share a note from his physician with all of you today. In recent weeks, President Trump...
It's funny that Harry Carey says this is a propaganda stream. The only propaganda right now is coming from this lady right here. If you're watching it on the vertical stream, if you're on another platform, it's this person right here.
Noted mild swelling in his lower legs. In keeping with routine medical care and out of an abundance of caution, this concern was thoroughly evaluated by the White House Medical Unit. The president underwent a comprehensive examination, including diagnostic vascular studies. Bilateral lower extremity venous Doppler ultrasounds were performed and revealed chronic venous insufficiency, a benign and common condition, particularly in individuals over the age of 70. Importantly,
what's going on, Sad
there was
buddy?
no
Welcome
evidence
in,
of deep vein thrombosis or arterial disease. Laboratory testing included a complete blood count, comprehensive metabolic panel, coagulation profile, D-dimer, B-type.
And I'm not a doctor, but from what I've understood from all of these things is that there's more to it here than she is explaining. I already told you guys before that one of the things they were saying was that he was basically not getting full circulation to the heart, and they're kind of it's pulling there at the bottom of his legs, and that's why his feet are swelling. And again, from my understanding, it is at stage 3, which means that it's been there for a while. And he just had a physical exam done back in April. So what is Donald Trump hiding? But again, it's convenient they're bringing this up now in the midst of the Epstein thing. They're trying to throw everything to cover up this Epstein story.
Natriuretic peptide and cardiac biomarkers. All results were within normal limits. An echocardiogram was also performed and confirmed normal cardiac structure and function. No signs of heart failure, renal impairment, or systemic illness were identified. Additionally, recent photos of the president have shown minor bruising on the back of his hand. This is consistent with minor soft tissue irritation from frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin, which is taken as part of a standard cardiovascular.
I think, Dan, I think that's an excellent point. This is something that I think is hysterical to me when she mentions some of this stuff. It's like, so he's taking aspirins. Like a lot of this stuff begs the question of like, okay, he's got a lot of health problems. Like that they're not really, they're like saying, hey, he's got this, and this. But it's not that big of a deal. By the way, one of the like ventricular, whatever it is, the venous, whatever it's called, for the veins, is due to a weakening in the veins. Like, how is that a good thing? Like, how is that like a perfectly okay thing? It's not. But okay, like you say, it's because of the weakening and everything, but...
Regimen. This is a well-known and benign side effect of aspirin therapy. and the president remains in excellent health, which I think all of you witness on a daily basis here. So the president wanted me to share that note with all of you. I'm happy to take further questions on it. We will provide the memorandum from the president's position to all of you, as we always do, and we'll get to questions. Here in our new media seat, we have Frank Corva, who's the White House correspondent for Bitcoin Magazine, which comes at a timely week with crypto legislation moving across Capitol Hill. So why don't you kick us off, Frank, and thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it, Ms. Levitt.
Sure.
I was curious to hear if the president was in favor of removing any and all language around central bank digital currencies from the Genius Act, maybe as a means to get it across the line and get it on his desk. And then my second question.
I do think health problems is a real issue, but I think it's a much worse angle than the destruction of due process. But Americans don't have class conscious to understand that it feels. Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. How to I think the problem is like, even if Donald Trump has health problems, right? The next person in line would be J.D. Vance. Do I think J.D. Vance is any better than Donald Trump? Not really, right? Like, and you go down further than that. You got Mike Johnson? Like, think about it. Like, it's, I agree with you. The bigger problem right now is, again, the erosion of due process, the fact that this entire administration is covering up. There's a whole host of issues with this administration. And I talked about this on the last stream. I said it's wild to me to think that prior to this guy running, the worst scandal you could think about was Clinton or Nixon. Those were the two that would always come up, right? Clinton or Nixon. But now with Donald Trump, it's literally every single day there is some kind of new controversy that always somehow outdoes the other. It's crazy. It's crazy to me.
Spoke about in this room. He talked about a $600 de minimis tax exemption for Bitcoin and other crypto spending. So I was just wondering if you could comment on those.
Sure. Well, the president did signal his support for a de minimis exemption for crypto, and the administration continues to be in support of that. We are definitely receptive to it to make crypto payments easier and more efficient for those who seek to use crypto as simple as buying a cup of coffee.
It's amazing to me, Michael, that you MAGA come in here and you're like, well, what about Biden? What about Biden? I don't give a shit about Biden. Come in here and talk about Trump. Trump is the president right now. Trump is the president. Let's worry about Trump. I don't care about Biden. Biden's not in office. I can't do nothing about it. You want me to go back in time and condemn Biden? Go right ahead. Guess what? Spoiler alert. I'm a recent convert to the Democratic Party. Okay? That means I voted for Kamala Harris and I voted for Colin Allred in 2024. I didn't vote for Biden. Unfortunately. Okay? Now looking back, I wish I didn't vote at all because I'd rather have not have voted for Trump. But unfortunately, I did. That's just the reality. I did. Okay? I've seen how radical MAGA can be. And luckily, I got the hell away from MAGA before they went full tilt. Okay? Right before 2021, there was a certain event that took place in January. And that was when I started to go, oh my God, there is literally nothing this man can do wrong. I need to start to move the hell away.
Of course, right now that cannot happen, but with the de minimis exemption, perhaps it could.
I already said, did Indian. I voted for Trump in 2020, unfortunately. And I wish I could go back and take that back, but I can't. You live with the consequences.
In the future, and we will continue to explore legislative solutions to accomplish that. As for the central bank digital currency and the Genius Act, which you noted has passed through Congress.
Correct,
and will
Chase.
be
The
sent
rich
to the
get richer and the
president's
poor
desk.
get
I believe the House is
taxed.
voting on it. If they haven't, they should be passing it. We know we have the votes, and we expect it to
Ironic,
get to the
Mike
president's
Jan.
desk, and we are planning a signing ceremony tomorrow afternoon. All of you will get more details.
I know this is interesting. What made you change? What made me change is seeing the radicalization of the MAGA party. Also, I was very pro-Kamala when it came to the election. Because why? She was one of the most moderate Democrats you could probably find in recent memory. Okay? Next to Joe Biden. Okay? She was extremely moderate. You might sit there and buy up the propaganda that she's some kind of commie, but she's for tax breaks. She was for trying to boost up small businesses. Hell, in the Middle East, she was for a two-state solution. So when you think about Kamala Harris, it made sense to me as somebody who was a moderate Republican that came over to the Democratic Party. I'm like, if there was a candidate to move over with, it would have been Kamala Harris. And that's exactly what I did.
On that, this piece of legislation is going to make America the crypto capital of the world, and that's what.
And see, the thing is I understand. This is one reason why I am so damn good at debating you, MAGA, because I understand how y'all's mind works. It's more than just a political ideology. And this is why I say it's a cult of personality. You have spent 10 years circling Donald Trump in his orbit. You have bought all of his merch. And you have been brainwashed to believe anybody who simply says, I don't believe Donald Trump, is somehow automatically assumed to be a Democrat on the Republican Party or a rhino.
President promised. As for a central bank digital currency, the president opposes that. He made that promise to the American people on the campaign, and while it's not in this specific piece of legislation, he did sign a January executive order banning a central bank digital currency. The administration supports Congress's efforts to codify that executive order into law, and I believe there will be future pieces of legislation in regards to crypto that will be moving through Capitol Hill. The president looks forward to signing them.
And I encourage anybody in the chat, please tell me how Kamala Harris is a leftist.
The signing ceremony this afternoon. So thank you for being with us today. Sure. Jackie. Thank you,
And I mean leftist, I mean a hardcore leftist. Please tell me how Kamala Harris is a hardcore leftist. Commie, more specifically, far left, not just moderate left, far left. Please explain to me. She campaigned on letting tax cuts expire, and you're completely incorrect. Completely incorrect. She ran on no tax on overtime. She ran on no tax on tips, and she also ran on trying to give businesses tax cuts as well. Startup, and then she even tried to help out giving new home buyers a new home buyer credit. And letting the TCJA expire. Yeah, probably, because the TCJA definitely helped the upper class. So the thing about the TCJA you got to watch out for is that the way that they come up with this to try to run with this is they say, well, it benefited the lower class more as a percentage. That's not incorrect. What is incorrect is the fact that the lower class as a total dollar value saw significantly less than the upper class. The upper class saw upwards of $600,000 in savings on their taxes. $600,000. Let that sink in. But the percentage, because they're super uber wealthy, was minimal. Not to mention any other kind of tax cuts outside of whatever tax cut savings they saw on their income.
Epstein files and the president's comments yesterday calling it a hoax. Can you clarify which part of the Epstein hoax is the hoax part?
The president is referring to the fact that Democrats have now seized on this as if they ever wanted transparency when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, which is an asinine suggestion for any Democrat to make.
You and your ilk ran on releasing the Epstein files, and now they're gaslighting the American people.
Democrats had control of this building, the White House, for 4 years, and they didn't do a dang thing when it came to transparency in regards to Jeffrey Epstein and his heinous crimes. It was this president who directed the Department of Justice and the Attorney General to do an exhaustive review of all files related to Jeffrey Epstein, which they did. The Attorney General and the FBI, led by Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel.
So why didn't you release them? Why aren't you not releasing the files?
These are great patriots, some of the most trusted voices in the Republican Party movement. It's part of the reason the president appointed them.
How can you sit here and say we're the most transparent administration, but yet not release a single file?
Them to these high law enforcement positions, and they spent many months going through all of the files related to Jeffrey.
I would, Dan, but I don't know if he's banned on YouTube, and I'm just trying to play it super safe as best as I can on here.
Epstein, and they concluded what they found in that memo, which they drafted and they released. And so the president has been transparent. He has followed through on his promises to the American people, but he doesn't like to see Democrats and the mainstream media covering this like it's the biggest story that the American people care about.
Republicans are covering it too. It's not just Democrats. Like, Republicans are covering this too. God, the gaslighting is so bad. This is like textbook gaslighting.
The president has been working so hard this week. On Tuesday, he went to Pennsylvania, where he secured $90 billion in investment.
I have seen it, though, Dan. I have seen the takedown. It was pretty hilarious. But a lot of, like, Nick and him, like, Nick didn't really... He's so far right that he doesn't like Trump he's not been liking Trump for a while. They loaded the files with Republicans and then waited for you guys to release them. Never use it to win 3 elections. Just wait for Trump's second term. Yeah. You fall for cheap lies. 600,000 is not shit, and you're a dumbass. Oh, great comeback, Thomas. Man, really got him there, huh? Okay, no files, so just show us the flight logs. Yeah, the flight logs are already been released, and Donald Trump's name is on them. Christine Marshall, the Champagne Socialists, who are the Evolutionary Socialist Party, calls the Fabians, who are Fabianism. I'm going to give you a leg up and a shortcut to everything by the book. Or what? Okay. United States of America is captured. That lady you're watching is putting on a performance. Oh, I'm sure, Simra. She puts on a performance every time she comes up there. Like how Trump calls this a fake and blames Obama, Clinton, and Biden when this didn't come out until Trump was in office during his first term. Yeah, right. He blames Obama, Clinton, and Biden, but this all came up under his term. He ran on trying to release them, and they're trying to pivot and say, well, the Democrats aren't releasing it. Why didn't they release it? By the way, there were files released under Joe Biden. There were thousands of files that were released under Joe Biden.
for the Commonwealth, for the people of that state.
The thing is that Joe Biden didn't give two shits about it because, again, he didn't. He just did it. He was like, bro, like, I didn't run on this. But they released them. They released thousands of them, I believe. If you go and look at that NBC article from January of 2024, they released thousands of them. Again, you don't have to be boisterous about it. And again, Donald Trump was the one who ran on it. So why didn't, and again, you can always turn this back around, right? Why didn't Republicans vote to release it? Why didn't Republicans do that? Turn it right back around on them.
After that, he came back to the Oval Office at 8 p.m. He went in there to whip votes to get the Genius Act signed into law. And because of his efforts, that bill is now going to be signed and passed. The following day, yesterday, he meets with a foreign leader, the King of Bahrain, to secure more investments into this country. And then yesterday afternoon, the president is in the East Room of the White House mourning with parents who have lost their children because of fentanyl, signing a bipartisan piece of legislation. And not a single cable network in this country took that event live and covered that event like they should. Those are the issues the president cares about. What could be more important to the American people than helping families who have lost their children? Those are the issues this president is going to remain focused on.
I understand he wants to move on from the story, but you do have some prominent figures, including the Senate Majority Leader, the House Speaker, voicing support for the files to come out. Representative Massey collecting signatures that would force a discharge petition for a vote on the floor for this. It doesn't seem to be going away. What is stopping the administration from just redacting any sensitive information, grand jury information, and putting out what is appropriate so that the American people can decide and then let this story die?
Well, in terms of redactions or grand jury seals, those are questions for the Department of Justice. Those are also questions for the judges who have that information under a seal. And that would have to be requested, and a judge would have to approve it. That's out of the president's control.
Okay, and this is funny looking at this in hindsight. She just said releasing the grand jury is outside of the president's control. The president just directed the AG to release the grand jury indictment information. So it is in the president's control. Like, the idea is she's sitting here going, the president can't do nothing, guys. But again, he just directed Pam Bondi to release the grand jury indictments. So he can do something.
He has said, in agreement with some of the leaders on Capitol Hill, that if the Attorney General and the Department of Justice come across any other credible evidence, they should provide that to the American people. The president has
always notice the little detail, credible evidence.
Said that, and he agrees with them on that.
Why did you fire Maureen Comey?
The Department of Justice did, and I would defer you to them. Dasha.
Has the White House been directly in touch with some of the MAGA influencers that are still not satisfied with the administration's handling? And has the message to them been similar to what the president has said, which is sort of either let this go or we don't need your support?
Well, look, the president and this team are always in contact with the president's supporters with voices of many kinds on both.
And this is extremely concerning to me. This is something that gets, again, overlooked because there's a million other bigger pieces of information. He's saying that she's saying that Donald Trump is in contact with many of his supporters. What she is kind of implying, and there's been rumors and speculations, is that some of the biggest MAGA influencers are quite literally receiving talking points from this administration. And she is, in a roundabout way, admitting to that right here, right now. But again, because there's a million bigger pieces of news, this gets kind of swept under the rug.
Sides of the aisle. I think that's part of the reason this president is a great president, because he's willing to listen and hear other people's perspectives. But ultimately, he has led this country, not just over the past 6 months to historic success, but also through his first 4 years as president.
100%,
and as the
Joseph.
leader and the creator of the MAGA movement, he has led through these perilous times for our country based on instinct and in the best interest of the country. And
you're extremely concerning to me. Michael, anybody who is in the MAGA movement is extremely concerning to me. I block ignorance. Oh, that's B. Scott. What's up, B. Scott? Hey, by the way, guys, listen, we got 190 people in here. I'm going to take a quick commercial break because we got about another 30 minutes. And if we reach our goal, I have a super chat goal up there. It's a big goal. It's 10. I'll stream for an extra 30 minutes. But okay, that's about as best as I can do. Maybe add another 30 minutes onto another stream. But if you like the stream, please hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. And if you enjoy this content, continue watching. We stream Wednesdays and Fridays, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. There are occasional weeks when I am traveling for business that I may be doing TikTok lives. So keep an eye out for that as well. Though TikTok is a big spot, you can hit !social and see all of my other socials on the link via the link tree. Type in socials there. All right, let's continue watching.
as I always say, the American people should trust in President Trump.
And what on
John,
the Fed share?
go ahead, John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. The president on Monday announced that if there's not compliance with Russia within 50 days, there would be increased tariffs. Can you explain how that works, first of all? What happens if Russia doesn't end its war with Ukraine in 50 days?
Well, in 50 days, as the president clearly laid out, if there is not a ceasefire agreement or a peace deal within that time frame, if Russia refuses to legitimately agree to a ceasefire, then they will face very steep tariffs, and they will also face secondary sanctions. So countries that are purchasing oil from Russia will be sanctioned as well, and of course that will do deep damage to Russia's economy. And I would just add that the president wants this war to end with a diplomatic solution. He's been pushing for it. This administration has spent many hours and a lot of time trying to solve this war very far away. But
Steve Primavera, the one who watches Bongino, if he walks, then they are hiding something. Well, again, this is the funny thing about it, though, Steve, right? Is like, what if he got in there and found out that it actually may not, like, there may not be a client list, which he has run on. Dan Bongino was adamant there was going to be some kind of a list, right? And there may not be a list, but Donald Trump's may name be. So when it comes to this whole Epstein fiasco, there's probably thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of files. Dan Bongino specifically stated that there was a client list out there. That's what they were talked about for the past several years. But the crazy thing to me is that there could be an instance in which there isn't a client list. Dan Bongino's pissed off because he's going to have to go back to his base, right? But it could also equally be true. There could be Donald Trump's names on other files, right? It could look bad for Trump, and Trump is upset because he's trying to hide his legacy. So, but yeah. Do needs a list when you have pictures? Who needs a list when you have pictures? Yeah, I mean, you got pictures, plenty of pictures. And again, we already know Donald Trump's names were on the flight logs. Donald Trump was pictured with Epstein. There's a whole bunch of things that implicate Donald Trump, just at least with the friendship level of it.
the president wants to stop the killing, and he wants to save lives. Reagan,
go
ahead.
What you were saying, Caroline,
Reagan, go ahead.
It's just about, if I may, it's just about the tariffs, the first part. I get the secondary tariffs. But there was only $3 billion worth of trade between the U.S. and Russia in 2024. It's expected to be far less this particular year. On April the 2nd, both you and the Treasury Secretary said it's not necessary to apply any tariffs on Russia. You said that because of the lack of trade, it precludes, that was the word you used, any need for tariffs. Why now, and why do you think that that would make them cave and come to some sort of peace agreement as it relates to Ukraine?
$3 billion is still a lot of money, John, and it's not just tariffs, it's the secondary sanctions as well that will be implemented in 50 days. Reagan.
Secondary sanctions, and again, what he just kind of breezes over was like, I keep telling people this, like, there's already numerous sanctions on Russia. They're looking at these tariffs and laughing at the United States. Putin's like, really? You're going to impose tariffs on me? Bro, you've already sanctioned the crap out of me. Okay? Putin's laughing at this right now. Trump went from release the files to protect the files.
First on Congress. Congresswoman Salazar introduced legislation that would give some illegal immigrants in the country path to citizenship. 10 Republicans signed on to what she's calling the Dignity Act. I'm curious what the White House's position is on the legislation and if the president would veto this bill if it needed to discuss.
From my understanding, the White House nor the president has actually read through this legislation. We've been...
Hey, she's got one honest thing. Trump doesn't read through any of this legislation. He's like, sir, can you explain this to me? And he doesn't even like actually read the legislation. He just signs off on it.
Focused on, of course, the One Big Beautiful Bill, which passed,
Although
which
he
is another
can read,
historic
'cause he's
accomplishment of this president in record time. The Genius Act this week, the rescissions package, that's been the focus of the White House. But the president has made it very clear he will not support amnesty for illegal aliens in any way.
I want to give you a chance to respond to the CEO of NPR. She's claiming that.
Yeah, Dan, I don't like to do this, but I'm gonna put you in timeout for 24 hours, Nix. So when you decide you want to come back, go ahead. I want to foster a decent environment here. I don't mind some of the talk. My biggest rule is in the chat, if you guys want to direct it towards me, that's one thing, but don't be repetitive about it. Don't keep spamming things. Just don't do that. You're in timeout for 24 hours. Come back when you feel like you can actually have a decent conversation.
The cuts to their network will, quote, be a real risk to public safety of the country. Murkowski has argued that public broadcasting stations save lives. Could you respond to these concerns?
The NPR CEO said cutting NPR will be a risk to public safety. I am not sure how NPR helps the public safety of our country. It's
called freedom of the press. This administration is patently against the freedom of the press. Patently against it.
But I do know that NPR, unfortunately, has become really just a propaganda voice for the left. Just a few examples for you. In 2020, NPR refused to cover the...
Steve, We had a surplus. I don't know if you were in here or not earlier. I had already went over it. Basically, that surplus is going to be passed down to the American taxpayer. The taxpayer is going to have to pay for all that additional surplus at the grocery store, at the electronics store, at going to get their children simple rocking chairs or simple cribs, or maybe they need to get a car seat, things like that. That's going to be more expensive. Hell, I'm almost positive diapers are going to be more expensive too.
Hunter Biden laptop scandal in the run-up to the election, they said their assertions don't amount to much, writing they did not want to waste the listeners' and readers' time on stories that are just pure distractions. That does not sound like an unbiased opinion. That sounds like a partisan opinion to me, and this is a taxpayer-funded organization. In 2018, that same CEO that you're talking about.
Inflation went up, Steve. We've already been here. I don't know. Inflation went up. It went up 2.4%. It's starting to catch up. It's going up, though. In different industries, it's going up more than just 0.2 or 0.4 or whatever it was. But they're rounding it down to 0 and now claiming they're 0%. That's not how it went.
Called the president in the Oval Office, who nearly 80 million Americans elected. She called him racist, shared a photo of herself wearing a Biden for President campaign hat, serves on the board of a Soros-funded activist group. In 2020, PBS.
I can't believe that Caroline Leavitt is talking about Soros when they literally had the world's richest man in their administration. How can she seriously sit here and talk about Soros? I don't want to hear another Republican talk about Soros because you literally had Elon Musk sitting right next to the president, having a special position in this administration, funding Donald Trump's entire campaign almost.
His White House correspondent at the time characterized President Trump's speech then at Mount Rushmore as a love letter to white resentment, promoting the myth of America. In 2017, PBS devoted an entire panel talking about what it means to be woke and white privilege. In 2023, PBS's Washington Week roundtable covered.
It's hysterical to me. She's going from like year to like 6 years down the line, right? She's like, there's this one tiny 30-minute segment from 2017. Oh, here's another quick 30-minute segment from 2023. It's like you could only find 3 segments over the course of 10 years. What is your problem?
Up Joe Biden's clear mental divide. That's actually quite the clip. I would encourage all of you to look at it. These are not honest news organizations. These are partisan, left-wing out.
I can't wait to hear what she thinks about Fox News. I'm sure Fox News is really trustworthy, guys, you know?
That are funded by the taxpayers, and this administration does not believe it's a good use of the taxpayers' time and money. Ed Lawrence.
Yeah, thanks, Carol. I want to ask you about the Federal Reserve. So does the president...
I mean, look, how to disappear. I kind of agree with you. I get it. Like the whole flashing your lights at, other passing cars. That's the least of my concerns when it comes to the First Amendment. I got a million other concerns right now when it comes to the First Amendment. Namely, we have the administration going after news networks. They're trying to sue news networks that they don't agree with. They have already said, and again, controversial take, not really super controversial, they want to imprison people for burning the American flag upwards of a year. So I got like 1,000 other like infringements on the First Amendment up there. You know what I mean? Keep in mind, MAGA not only wants to pull books from libraries, they're targeting good food truck vendors as well. Real cool. Yeah, exactly.
I believe that the slightly restrictive monetary policy stance right now, could that cause an economic slowdown? And if he does believe that, when?
What pause are you referring to?
No, could the stance of the monetary policy is slightly restrictive? Does the president believe that stance, the slightly restrictive stance, could cause an economic slowdown in itself?
I haven't heard the president discuss that specifically, but what I do know in regards to the Federal Reserve is the president's been very transparent about his displeasure with both the policies and the management of the Fed, and he spoke about that to all of you pretty extensively.
The Fed is an independent federal agency, okay? It's not supposed to be political, and they're trying to make this an agency political. They are trying right now, and we're seeing this in real time, they're trying to do an executive unitary theory. They're trying to bring everything in and ran by the executive. It essentially is a dictatorship for all intents and purposes.
Extensively in the Oval Office yesterday.
And last month, one more if I could. Last month, the Canadian Prime Minister said the president had agreed to.
Plus, the BBB got signed. Correct me if I'm wrong, but inflation went from 2.4 to 2.7. I think you're about right. I think it was like 2.4 to 2.7. It wasn't like uber significant, but that's besides the point. The point is it's going up, and we all know that inflation is a lagging indicator, and it's cumulative, right? So again, it's going up. The president has been clear and transparent. It's just going to hurt a little bit. Yo, Lethe, what you doing in here? Lethe snuck into my panel. Hey, real quick, shout out to Lethe, guys. He is a streamer that is on Twitch, and He's got some all right takes, but they can be pretty crappy at times. I'm kidding, Lethe. Welcome in, buddy.
July 21st deadline to sort of work towards a trade agreement. That's 4 days from now. Could there be a trade agreement with Canada in 4 days?
Well, look, we'll see. The trade team continues to be very active in our conversations and discussions with Canada. The president himself has said, unfortunately, our neighbors to the north have been pretty difficult to deal with when it comes to matters on trade. But in trade, generally speaking, as you know, 25 countries have received letters thus far.
Hey, on another topic outside of politics, let me tell you, there are good food trucks out there that are amazing. I was in Louisiana recently on a work job business trip thing, and somebody recommended me at the job site, like, hey man, come try out this. There's some amazing fish and shrimp, and it's at this gas station. And I'm like, I'm from Texas. I'm like, bro, I don't eat nothing fish from a gas station. Like, I barely eat gas station food because I'm worried it's gonna give me the bubble guts. And I'll kid you not, best damn fish and shrimp I have ever had. And it was from a gas station. Louisiana just does gas station food. It's weird. And I'll tell you, if you go to Austin, Texas, there's a whole entire section like dedicated to nothing but food trucks. And I'll tell you what, they've got some amazing food. Now, would I go stop at a food truck outside of Austin? Maybe. It just depends on how clean it is. All right, let's get back to the video.
From the president directly with his big, beautiful signature on them, from Japan to Korea, South Africa, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, just a few countries, and Canada also received a letter for 35%. With that said, if countries want to have legitimate further discussions, the Trump administration and the president's trade team are willing to have further talks.
This is so incredibly lazy. This is so incredibly lazy. They're like, hey guys, here's a letter. If you want to talk, come talk to us. We're going to move on. That's so incredibly lazy.
Been receiving are the deals, and as the president has said, those deals will be made. They are tailor-made to each and every country based on the United States' concerns and what's in the best interest of the.
Hey, I'm just saying props. I was up in the Dakotas, and I ended up trying out some fish, and I definitely had the case of the bubble guts. I'm just saying. That's the last time I eat fish that far north.
American worker and the American people. Charlie, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline.
No, I called on Charlie, but Deanna, you can go too. Go ahead.
The president said that he floated the idea of a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. Can you confirm that? And has he asked the Attorney General to do this, to appoint a special prosecutor to look it over?
Well, the idea was floated from someone in the media to the president. The president would not recommend a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. That's how he feels. And as for his discussions with the Attorney General, I'm not sure. Deanna.
Thank you so much. Do you know what the president's reaction was to Mike Johnson saying that he wants additional files released, the Epstein files?
Yeah, so this is funny too. So Mike Johnson, like a couple of days ago, said that he wanted these files released and then went to go vote on a bill or on a motion or a resolution or whatever that would put forth an actual vote to release the Epstein files, and he voted no. So like he was like, hey, release them. I'm going to release them. I like releasing them. And all of a sudden went to go vote on them and voted to not release them.
Was there a conversation with Mike Johnson about that following his comments?
I won't discuss the president's private conversations with the Speaker of the House, but as I answered to Jackie's question earlier, the president has said if the Attorney General and the Department of Justice and the FBI have any more credible evidence in regards to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes, they should put that forward. He has called on them to do that.
Credible evidence. Like, just release the damn files. They keep toying around with this, and they're like, we're going to, like, think about this. Like, just think about this for a minute. They've got the files sitting there on Pam Bondi's desk. It's right there. But instead of just saying, hey guys, here it is, they're like, no, we're going to go to the grand jury testimony. What? No, we're going to go somewhere else. Like, bro, stop resisting. Just release them. Just release them. You're clearly covering something up. Like, you could release a whole bunch right now and not have to go through the loopholes. You can release a whole bunch of files right now and not have to go through the loopholes. But you're not. Why are you not releasing it? Spoiler alert, might be because maybe Donald Trump is on the files.
Thank you, Caroline. With a few days.
I'll go to all of you, starting with the lady in the blue. Go ahead.
With a few days to the August 9th deadline, how are the negotiations with Europe going? There's some sticking points. What are they? Can we expect
a delay, or should we expect a deal soon?
Well, I believe the deadline is August 1st. As for the European Union, they continue to be very eager in negotiating with our country for obvious reasons on ways to lower their tariff and their non-tariff barriers that we have long said harm our workers and our companies. So the President's trade team continue to be in talks with the European Union.
Would he accept, or would he put forth a postponement of the August 1st?
He's already said he will not.
Caroline,
Owen, go ahead.
Caroline, good afternoon, Caroline. In Gaza today, Holy Family Catholic Church was struck by an Israeli shell.
Yes.
3 people were killed, 10 wounded. What is the president's reaction to that church coming under fire?
It was not a positive reaction. He called Prime Minister Netanyahu this morning to address the strikes on that church in Gaza, and I understand the Prime Minister agreed to put out.
Yeah, I mean, Cheryl, there's probably a whole lot of people that are on that list. And I've told people this before. I don't care what party you are in. I don't care what kind of person it is. I'm someone who wants to actually legitimately protect children. And I'm not saying you don't. I don't know which side you're on. But I will say this, is I want those files released. I want to know who's in them.
Statement. It was a mistake by the Israelis to hit that Catholic church. That's what the Prime Minister relayed to the President, and you should look at the Prime Minister's statement that will be coming out. Steve, go ahead.
Back to your letter that you read at the beginning.
Sure.
The President, you said mild swelling in his legs. Is
Yes, sir.
it causing him any discomfort? How are you treating it?
Nope, no discomfort from the President at all, and you probably all see that on a day-to-day basis. He's working around the clock. As for
Okay, sure.
the
Yeah, I mean,
treatment,
I don't know. That's why I said I didn't know. I don't know if you're on the MAGA side or not. That's why I wasn't sure.
Can defer to the President's physician, and we'll get you this letter. I think it will answer all your questions.
There are reports that a Chinese-born banker who works in Atlanta for Wells Fargo is being prevented from leaving China. Has the President, is he going to bring this up with President Xi? Are you aware of the case?
I'm not aware of the case, but I'm sure our National Security Council team is. Steve will get you some answers on that.
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Caroline. 2 questions. So
Y'all guys got to come up with some new talking points. If Trump's on the files, why didn't Biden release them? I said it a million times. There was thousands of files that were released under Joe Biden.
The first is that President Trump said that the Attorney General only gave him a brief overview of what was in these Epstein files. Does he have a knowledge or an understanding of what is in the files related to Epstein that have not been released?
Not to my knowledge, and that's a question for the Attorney General, as I said, and the President has told the Attorney General if they have any more credible evidence, they should release it.
Is that evidence, would she have to run that by the President before she released it?
I don't think so. He said if she has any more credible evidence, she should release it. Go ahead.
She moved on from that question real quick, huh?
2 questions. One, today.
You can go ahead, Andrew. Don't worry.
Today, tens of thousands of folks are rallying nationwide to honor the legacy of Congressman John Lewis. Meanwhile, Republicans in Texas reportedly are working to redraw congressional maps.
Yeah, so this is a big issue that's going on right now. They're working. So Texas is trying to redraw congressional districts to obviously benefit themselves. Donald Trump has openly stated that he's doing this to benefit Republicans. California has said that they're going to do this. One thing about Texas that people don't most know about this is that if I believe it's the House or the Senate or both, if they leave the state, if the Democrats leave the state and they're not there to vote, they can't hold quorum, which means they cannot hold a vote on that bill to redistrict. And so what's happening right now is there's a push for Democrats to leave Texas and go to states like, say, California, and allow California to redistrict their maps and not allow Texas to redistrict their maps. Now, Ken Paxton has gone out and saying, I'm going to go ahead and charge those people who leave the state. I don't know what legal basis he has for that. Ken Paxton has said a whole lot of crazy stuff. Meanwhile, he's going through a messy divorce with his wife, I believe it is.
At President Trump's urging, how is President Trump reconciling his call to action for Texas Republicans with the legacy of Representative John Lewis?
I'm not quite sure how the two things are related. I think the President would agree that John Lewis served our country for many, many years. It has nothing to do with the redistricting efforts that are currently underway by Texas Republicans to add seats to their legislature. They have the right to do that. The President...
Because Caroline Leavitt doesn't quite understand that redistricting typically is done to disservice minority communities.
Spoke to the congressmen and women who serve the great state of Texas about it, but it's up to them and it's up to their legislature to get that approved.
And here is the second question. And
Go
does
ahead.
the President support the Justice Department's request for just 1 day in jail for the officer convicted of Breonna Taylor's killing? And what message does he believe that sends to her family and to other families seeking justice in cases of police violence?
I haven't talked to the President about that case. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, let's go on with this.
The president, when the president met the interim president of Syria a couple of months ago, he described him as a young, tough, attractive
Yeah, guys, there's not a whole lot more after this. And I already told you guys I'm at like a hard deadline of 9:30, and it's already about 9:18, so I'm going to cut it a little bit short. But listen, guys, do me a huge favor. All right, if you could, drop me a like, subscribe, okay? And we will be streaming again next Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. You guys have a great weekend. And if you want to follow me on any other kind of platform, you can. Here's my socials real quick. I'm going to drop that there. There's the socials. And you guys can go there. Follow me at other places. I might do a TikTok next week. I don't know yet. But follow me on TikTok and all that other stuff. I will be posting shorts here on YouTube. And again, if you feel so inclined and you want to donate, feel free to donate as well. I want to say that a lot of that stuff's going to go right back into the stream. I am working on trying to get a newer camera. It's a pretty good camera I got. It's just a little Logitech camera, though. But I appreciate all you guys. Thank you so much. And y'all have a great night. Have a great weekend.